Welcome to the Irish Scoop. I'm your host, Jordan Clark, and today on the show we'll be recapping Louisville, talk about things moving into the bye week, and then we'll be joined by our guests. So first, let's do the recap. First, talking about Louisville, great game. Definitely my favorite experience in Notre Dame Stadium so far. The fans were amazing. Offense was amazing. We got things done on defense, and 100% my favorite game day experience that I've had here. Moving into the bye week, got a lot to clean up, a lot of guys to get healthy. Some bumps and bruises, but ultimately we're super grateful for this time. We'll get to look forward to Stanford after the bye, kind of get into that, but get to decompress for a while because it's been a stressful few weeks. And joining me on the show today is everybody's favorite running back, Pro Football Hall of Famer, Notre Dame and Pittsburgh Steelers legend, Jerome Bettis. I know you came back and got your degree, right?
I did.
What was that experience like? We talked so much about how much campus has changed, and you coming back and being a full-time student again. What was that experience like for you?
That was different. I didn't really know what to expect. The idea of going back to school sounded good. But when I got here, it was a blizzard, right? I live in Atlanta, so I'm like, oh my goodness.
You got out the Midwest.
Oh, I got out, it was a blizzard. I'm like, oh my goodness, what is going on?
Yeah.
And so it was, obviously the weather part was hard, but for me, going back, I had to go to class every day. I'm in classes, and I'll tell you a funny story. So the first day I get to class, right? I'm thinking, probably nobody knows who I am. So I'm like, because you got to think, the kids at the time would have been 3 to 4 years old when I retired.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
the students that's there now, they would have been 3, 4 years old. So they wouldn't have known anything about my career, right? So I'm thinking, so maybe I may be able to get away. So I hat down in the front of the class because I'm in the front of the class because
everybody see the back.
Everybody's in the back, so everybody looking at me, right? So I'm like, I almost got away with it. The teacher says, all right, everybody, we're gonna start in the back, and I want you to go and everybody introduce yourself, your name, and tell me your year and your major and what you do. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, she got you. She set you up.
I was like, so it's going, and I'm just like sweating. I'm like, about to panic. I'm like, what do I say, right? What do you say?
Yeah.
So it got to me, and I was like, Jerome Bettis. And so what class? And I'm like, class of 2022? I'm guessing, right? It's been 25 years, so I don't know what class. So, and then I said, former professional athlete, coming back to school after 25 years, right? And so it was one of those, everybody was like, oh, that's pretty cool, right? Still nothing.
Nobody peeped.
The teacher, the whole time knew, right, who I was, right? Because come to find out, I was the same year as the professor.
Wow.
Right?
That's crazy.
So, right. That's the crazy part, right? So I realized it was a setup the whole time. And then, but the next day, all the students kind of had an idea because they told their parents or somebody and looked it up.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay, what's going on? So it was crazy because this day 2 was when everybody's like, hey, what's going on? Yeah. So clearly everybody did some homework on me. But I will say it was a tough experience, obviously having to go back after 25 years and getting back into all the classwork, all the quizzes, the studying, the reading. So that was a challenge. Also, I've got a life, I've got a family.
Yeah.
So I fly in on Sunday, go to classes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, go to class Thursday, fly home Thursday. And I had an afternoon class on Monday, so you didn't have to be back early. So it was tough trying to juggle and manage family, home, children, and school with business, right? So it was a lot, but I will say it was the best experience in terms of coming back. I wouldn't trade it for the world to have an opportunity to do some of the things that I was able to do that I never did when I was a player. So, you know, it was like a few things. You know, they have bingo bouts, the boxing,
Yeah, the boxing,
right?
yeah.
I had never ever gone to it, never seen it, didn't know. I mean, you hear about it, but you just. So I actually went to the bouts. It was
Yeah.
a guy that was in my class that was fighting. So I got a chance to go when he was training and see the facility, just see all of the stuff that you never ever think of when you're playing. You know, I mean, you don't have time. You're busy. So I got a chance to do some of the things that I had never done as a student when I came the first time. So that was another great experience. And then to be able to speak at the commencement and in front of my family, right, my children who were at the time younger, and my daughter who's now a sophomore here. She was considering where she was going to go to college, right? So that was very important on her, and to have an opportunity to be in that moment to speak and to have my mother present, who I had promised, 25 years earlier that I was going to graduate, right, and I was going to get my degree, and then for her to be able to see it realized, that was really important for me. So it was an amazing opportunity, and I think if I hadn't have done that, I don't think both of my children would be on their way and here and on their way to Notre Dame had I not done that.
Yeah. Talking about how you came back for school, getting to come back and watch the games. Like you're saying, your son is committed to play ball here, which is awesome. So we're excited about that. Cool. But coming back and watching the games, getting to be back in the stadium, what's that experience like for you?
It's fun because you recall experiences and things that kind of happen. You see some of your former teammates, and that brings back old memories. Like this past game, our coach Lou Holtz was here, and so got a chance to spend some time with him. And it just takes you back. And he mentioned to me, "Oh, I love when I met your mother. He came to our house, back when he was recruiting me, and so he brought it up, right? And I'm like, man, I hadn't even thought about back in that moment. So it kind of took me back, and so to be able to come back and see the games and the university and some of my former teammates, it's just special. Every time I step foot on campus, it's a special feeling.
That's amazing. Talking about Lou Holtz, I saw him when they put him up there on the Jumbotron yesterday. Everybody went crazy. A legend, a true legend.
Absolutely.
I feel like he embodies our football program here. Like he built it, really. What was it like playing for him? You always hear these amazing stories about him. What was your experiences like with him?
Yeah, so he helped kind of build the modern game that the modern success that we're having now is kind of a testament to him. It was incredible because now, getting an opportunity to see him and talk to him, you go back at that particular moment, some of the lessons that he was teaching were the hard lessons, right? That you don't want to hear, right? But now you listen and it's part of your DNA. And so that's what is so incredible when you have a coach that inspires you in so many different ways. I think that's the significant part, because now the lessons that he teaches you are not just football lessons, they're life lessons, right? And you get an opportunity to develop yourself through his lens, right? Because he's saying, hey, can I trust you? Are you committed? And do you care? Those were some of his pillars, right? And so at some point you're saying, can I trust you, right? Because it's about trust and your teammates and all that kind of thing. Can we trust each other, right? Are you committed? Are you committed to the goal, right? And do you care about each other, right? So those kind of things become the backbone of who you are, how you raise your kids, how all these things happen. So to get a chance to spend time with him, you get a chance to say thank you, right? Because you 18 years old, you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear all that, right? You're not listening, and usually, you take some of the so you know, if you're dealing with the bulls, sometimes you get the horns, right? So coach had horns, right? So everybody dealt with that at some point. But what you didn't realize was the benefit that and what he was creating in terms of not just a program, but in the young men that he coached, right? So that's the incredible part. And they speak of, if you give 4, the university will give you 40. And it's never more so evident with coach, because he's still wanting to help. He asked me on his way out, hey, what can I do for you, right? It's like, coach, you've done so much for me. But that sentiment is still there, because that's a real feeling when you come here.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Lou Holtz story?
Yeah. So my favorite Lou Holtz story, and I tell it quite a bit. When it was my sophomore year, and we were starting my sophomore year, and there was a lot of hoopla because I ended my freshman campaign really, really, really good. And my sophomore year, there was hype about me, and all that, so they put me on the cover of this. They had this magazine back then. It was the Irish Illustrated or something like that, or something like that. Blue and Gold Illustrated. That's what it was. And so I'm on the cover of this thing, and I'm there they spritz me up, I got sweat, all that stuff, right? And I'll never forget, it said the Sultan of 6, because my number was 6, right? So I'm like feeling myself. I'm feeling real good. And so we go to practice that day, and we have practice, and 15, 20 minutes into practice, he calls practice up, and everybody's like, oh boy, somebody's in trouble, because you never call practice up 15 minutes in, right? Because 3 fields, guys, so to get everybody back, and so he says, man, we got a guy who's gonna cost us a national championship, right? And we're like, what? Who's that? And I'm thinking, what? Not on my watch, right? I'm feeling good about, this position that I'm in, because, I'm getting more and more responsibility. And so he's like, he thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread and all this kind of stuff. Like, who is this, right? He says, but this is your football team. You deal with them, right? And I was like, okay. So he was like, Jerome Bettis, you stand up? And I was like,
no way.
Right? I mean, chin to the floor, like, what? And so he's like, all right, let's go to practice, right? And I was like, what does that look like? Well, I had the toughest practice I ever had, right? I'm getting hammered. They tackling me to the ground, right? I'm like, there's supposed to be no tackling. Right? So they give me the business, right? And I'm like, okay, I get it. So I'm walking back from practice afterwards, and I'm mad. Nobody's around me. I'm like a leper, right? Nobody wants to talk to me. So as I'm finishing up, he pulls up in his golf cart. He says, Jerome, get in, right? Get in. He says, how was practice? And I'm like, it was the worst, right? He said, I was just trying to motivate you. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And he's like, have a great day, right? I was like, did you tell the team that?
Yeah.
You didn't tell them that. They still thinking that. So, but I will say, it changed my football life, because that day, the practice was so tough, I had to make a decision. It was either I'm gonna turn my level up, right? I'm gonna match that aggressiveness. I'm gonna turn my level up, or you gonna disappear.
Yeah.
Right? You got sink or swim kind of thing. And I said I'm gonna take it to 10. So it changed my practice habits. So from that day forward, I was a 100% guy. So I went 100% full throttle every play, right? And so guys be like, come on, JB, nope. I got one speed. So now everybody had to figure out what they were going to do, because I was 100 miles an hour. So now everybody else is like, okay, well, we got to turn ours up, because he ain't stopping. And so it just got everybody, I think, more committed to what we were doing, right? But for me personally, I became a different football player that day. So it really propelled me. And I had, a great sophomore year, a great junior year, and then going to the NFL, I had that same work ethic, that same mentality because of that day. So I can kind of go back I could circle a moment in time where
things changed.
He changed my football life.
Yeah.
Because my trajectory was a different trajectory because of that moment. Now, it was hilarious in terms of how he did it.
Yeah.
Looking back on it.
True Lou Holtz fashion.
But true Lou Holtz fashion, and it worked, and he got the best out of me.
Yeah. Before we get too deep into the combo, I'm going to have our friends at Murphy's bring us out some ice cream.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm ready, yeah. Ooh.
Pomegranate swirl.
Yeah.
Chaos. I'm trying something new today.
Okay.
I'm trying something new. I told you I like the blueberry cheesecake one. So that's normally what
it
I
is
get.
good.
Bro, it's amazing. So I get that like every episode. So I figure I'll switch it up, Try something different. That's the one though?
And it's funny. I looked at it and I was like, There was so many other ones that was so good. Tried this and was like, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is it. I'm sold.
So I'm curious. I don't know the story, but everybody's been talking about it. Can you tell me the story how you got the nickname the Bus?
Okay. When I was here, and I believe it was my sophomore year. No, maybe going into my junior year. Somebody wrote an article in the student newspaper that said I reminded them of a bus, that I was, taking guys to school or dragging them, something to that, right? And so the name came because the student body started a chant. Whenever I would run, they would say, "Nobody stops the bus." And that whole student section would say it.
Yeah.
Right? And then it was like, it picked up momentum. And it's about I think the end of my junior year, like whenever I have a big run, the whole stadium, "Nobody stops the bus," right? And then it went away after I left, because when I left, I went out to LA.
Yeah.
So that kind of the bus thing disappeared. Well, what happened was, and it's just by happenstance, I just get to Pittsburgh, and we're going to play Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. It's a preseason game, right? And I had a player on my team. His name was Jonathan Hayes.
Okay.
He was a big tight end. Well, his brother, Jay Hayes, was the linebacker coach with me at Notre Dame when I was here. Okay. He had left and went to Wisconsin, and he was the linebackers coach at Wisconsin now, right? Well, he was bringing his kids, his young kids, to see their uncle. And one of the young kids is now Jackson. He plays for the LA Lakers now. He's the big center they have.
Okay.
But anyway, but they were little kids, so he's bringing them to see their uncle, right? So he sees me in the lobby, and he says, "Bussy," right? Real loud, "Bussy," right? And everybody's like, who's he talking to?
Yeah.
Well, one of the announcers for the Steelers was over there. His name was Myron Cope, legendary.
Yeah.
Him.
Terrible Towel.
Terrible Towel.
Yeah.
And him and his partner, Bill Hillgrove, was there.
Okay.
So Bill Hillgrove heard it. And then he says to Myron Cope the next day at the game, "Oh yeah, his nickname is the Bus." And then the guy Myron Cope had a real interesting sound. He says, "The Bus. He kind of looks like a bus," right? Because I had the yellow pants and the black shirt, so he kind of looked like a school bus. Right? He says, "He kind of looks like a bus. The Bus." And that was it. And then it blew up. It took off. And from then on, everybody called me the Bus. But nobody knew. Everybody thought it came from Pittsburgh. But it actually came from Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Was the kind of leaning into that, was the fandom crazier here for you, or was the fandom crazier once you got to Pittsburgh? Like,
so
which city?
That's a good question. my junior year, the fandom here was really strong because our sophomore year, we had a challenging year, and we finished off though on a super high note.
Yeah.
We went down and played the Sugar Bowl. We played Florida in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
Nobody thought we was gonna win this game. You know, Florida people were making jokes and joking about us not belonging there, and they were mad because they felt they should have been playing for a national championship. They shouldn't be playing, you know, this team that don't even, they not in top 10, right? So we go down and we thump them, and I win the Sugar Bowl MVP. So I had 150 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. So I have this monster game playing fullback, and that really kind of set me up for my junior year. So going into my junior year, there was a lot of fanfare for me and that kind of thing. So it was like really big. And what was so cool, when you become kind of like a well-known player here, you kind of have a little bit of rock star feel, because when you go play on the road, I mean, we get off the bus at the hotel, whatever city we're in, it's 1,000 people outside.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Because we were undefeated, we had this great team, so it was like, whoa, wait a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was like
Special.
really cool, right? Now, it does not even light a candle to the success when you have in the NFL, because the fanfare for Notre Dame is huge. But then when you play in the NFL and you have more eyeballs on the games, and you playing in all these different cities and all of this, and you're doing commercials and you're doing all this kind of stuff, so it just magnifies that experience. But it started here, and so you see it. It's like pretty impressive, the support you get. But a funny story though about the being a star. Boy, that's good. That's good.
No,
my freshman year, Rocket Ismail was the man, right?
Yeah.
So I'll never forget. So we walking from, I think, Pangborn at the time. That's where we had Mass, and that's, you do the walk.
Yeah.
So we walk into the stadium. And I'll never forget, I'm a freshman. I'm thinking, people know who I am. As soon as a guy like put out a piece of paper, and I'm like, autograph. I go to sign it, the guy like pull it back, like, nah. And I was like, and Rocket was behind me, right? I was like, oh. So I was crushed, right?
Yeah.
So I go back to my that I never forget it. I'll never forget it, because after the game, I went back to my dorm. I was crushed. I was like, man. I put out a piece of paper. I said, I'm gonna get my autograph right.
Yeah.
I said, because they're gonna want my autograph.
Yeah.
Because I was just so, I was bent out of shape. Dude was like, nah, you good. Nah, I want his. So I was like,
crazy.
they gonna want my autograph. And that's kind of what I said. They gonna want my autograph. So that was kind of my thought. So I just start writing out a signature, coming up with a signature, because I wanted somebody to ask me for my autograph.
Yeah, shoot, you made it happen.
It took a while though. It took a while. It wasn't overnight. That's for sure.
You can't even go to class. But we're gonna do a segment. It's called the 4 Horsemen. I'm gonna give you 4 Notre Dame football players.
Okay.
You rank them from 1 to 4 and the most electric while they were here.
Wow. Okay.
All right. So 1, Rocky Ismail.
Okay.
Tim Brown.
Okay.
Golden Tate. And Ricky Waters.
Ooh.
1 through 4. Tell me why. It's a tough list.
Okay, I'm gonna say Rocket number 1.
Okay.
Because he was special. Some of the things he did was just
Unreal.
insane. So he was dynamic, right? I would have to say 2. I would have to say Tim Brown, because obviously he was a one-man show.
Yeah.
Pretty Ricky, Ricky Waters. That's what we call Pretty Ricky. he was something else.
Yeah.
He was. I'll say, he was the best player, not Rocket, that I played with.
Yeah.
Todd Light was another special player, but he was a defensive guy. But I'm saying offensive guy, Ricky Waters was the guy for me. And then Golden Tate, obviously, he was special
Unreal.
too.
Yeah, he was
but
nice.
but I got a chance to see these guys in practice every day, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
How impressed I was.
Yeah. Talking about your career or just Notre Dame, I guess, moments in general, are there any moments here, football moments, that like jump out to you? Like when you think about Rocket, you think about Ricky Waters, those guys that you got to play with and see, or even moments that you've had yourself. Like, what are your favorite Notre Dame football moments?
One of my favorite moments was when we came out of the tunnel when we played Miami, that heated rivalry with the Hurricanes, and we were playing them for the last time. I think it was my freshman year, sophomore year. Before they've since started and played more, but at that time it was kind of like the last game. We didn't know we had to play them again, so it was like a big game. And I remember coming out of the tunnel. And I remember we were like floating, how excited we were for that moment. So it was pretty cool. So that was the amazing moment that I remember. Just not even a question about it. That one, and then as a freshman, my first game was against the University of Michigan. I'm from Detroit. I'm from Michigan, so that was like a big moment for me to be in the stadium, Michigan, come out, those helmets, we like, and it was like, as a freshman, you don't know what to expect. It's new, you don't know where to go. You're like, everything is all new, and you're on sensory overload, but that was a special time.
Yeah, Sal and I were actually talking earlier. Didn't Michigan recruit you to play linebacker? Talk about that.
Well,
heard you were a nice defensive player back in the day as well.
Yeah, so I was an All-American linebacker.
Yeah.
So every school in the country wanted me to play linebacker. I was a better linebacker, but I was an All-American fullback too. So it wasn't like I was, I was the number one fullback in the country. I was number two linebacker in the country, and so I felt that my high school coach really kind of talked me through it. He said I was just too short to play linebacker, right? If I wanted to go to the next level, right? If I wanted to go far, I was going to be undersized, right? And so I really felt I was a better linebacker, right? So the whole time I was like auditioning, trying to play some linebacker too, right? I was like, come on, coach, I can play. Oh, no, right? So I can do a goal line. Let me play goal line.
Yeah.
So they almost let me play one time, a linebacker in practice, but he oh yeah, you get hurt. So, and then one of the running backs got hurt. That's what happened. I was gonna play, and then one of the other tailbacks got hurt, and then they had to use me at fullback and tailback a little bit. So I never got a chance to play linebacker. But that was my first love, position-wise. I wanted to be a linebacker, and that's why I think the physicality and the way I played, it came out because I wanted to play.
You've been on that side.
I wanted to play linebacker.
Yeah. Well, the game now has evolved, and it's kind of without a fullback. You know what I'm saying? You don't really see too many. You got your youth chicks like the guy in San Francisco,
just
but
a few
even
guys.
him, he split out sometimes, dang near in 11. He's dang near the tight end.
That's right.
But how do you feel about that fullback being gone?
You know what? I don't necessarily like where the game is, because the priority is not. It's now become. It used to be you run the football, you create situations by running the football. You create one-on-ones
Yeah.
for your
Receivers.
receivers.
Yeah.
Now they pass to run.
Yeah.
Now they
Try to
pass, they
lighten the
go
box
3-4
up.
wides. Now if they get the numbers right, then they run.
Yeah.
Right? If the number's not right, then we throw it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, I've always felt backwards, because when you get into playoff football is totally different.
Yeah.
So regular season football is one way, and then playoff football one way. So the teams that can run the football in the playoffs are the teams that go further, right?
Yeah.
And so people are fooled into thinking that it's all about passing, when it's time to really buckle down, you have to be able to run the football, right? And that's the unfortunate part about the fullback has become the eye guy out, because now you want a player who's versatile enough that we can split him out, we can put him in the slot, we can motion him, right? He can be the H guy, H back. We can do so many things with him, right? And he needs to be a mismatch.
Yeah.
Well, that's a unicorn, right?
Say,
That guy don't
that's
exist.
The video of those, yeah.
And so, but the problem is, teams have said, well, we'll just take the passing side, and so we'll lose a little bit in the running game, but we'll be a better, more explosive passing team, right? And so it's worked for some teams, and I think it not super successful for other teams. And I think where the team is a big part of that too. So teams that are, up north, that are in, Michigan, Pittsburgh, New York, all those areas, if you're throwing the football in December and in January, it doesn't work well,
you might not
right?
find too much success.
So you have to run the football. So I think it all comes back to running the football, and the teams that do it well, and the teams that keep a fullback on the roster and utilize them, those are the teams that are really successful. It's not an accident that the 49ers have been this really, really good football team for the last 3, 4, 5 years, because they're an exotic smash mouth football team. They make you think that they want to do all these other things, but really, when you look at them, they run counter, they run power. They are a downhill physical football team, and they want to get after you up front. But everybody thinks it's more of a passing attack. It's not. It's really physicality at the line of scrimmage, 100%. and that's why they are so much better than everybody else in their division.
100%. They create with the run.
That's right.
You're kind of talking about that. I feel like that's our whole identity here. You know what I'm saying? I think as things have gone on, people have wanted for Notre Dame to become more progressive, but I think historically we are O-line, D-line driven program, and on offense we run the ball. You kind of talk about that being the identity of our school, and was that, the thing with you guys as well? Like something y'all wanted to establish?
It's definitely an identity. And also you have to look at, obviously, I spoke about the location, right? You're in a Midwest city. It gets cold here. It's tough. I mean, the wind blows, so it's a challenge, right? So if you think that you're going to be able to throw the football 30, 40 times, that's just not going to happen, right? And the belief here has always been, run the football, play great defense, right?
Control the game.
And control the game, and control the line of scrimmage. And so it's always understood that the team that controls the line of scrimmage is a team that's the most successful, right? And that's been the philosophy here on the offensive line and defensive line. And I think that's why it's always been an emphasis and a sense of pride, really, that when you see NFL offensive linemen, there's a large amount of players that played at Notre Dame that are in the NFL because of that offensive line and defensive line. I think it went back, obviously, before my time, and then obviously I was a beneficiary of that same philosophy, because we have multiple offensive linemen go in the NFL when I was here. So that's always been an area where it's been a sense of pride and focus. And I think it's going to continue to be that. Now, yes, will they need to have a exotic, passing game?
Yeah.
I think they don't necessarily need an exotic passing game, but they do need
Balance.
to have that balance, right? And to be able to stretch the field and not be a predictable offense, right? So you do need to have that, but you need to have a base, and I think the base is built in power running.
Yeah, that's why I love Coach Denbrock's offense so much. Personally, like when I got here and I heard that they were hiring him, with him coming from LSU, just because what they did last year there was unreal. You know what I'm saying? And even the stuff that we've seen this year, the things that he's drawn up, the plays, the screen, then getting JG wide open down the middle of the field.
Unbelievable.
Like, it was amazing. It was dope to see. So
and it's not just it's not just people thought because of last year, he had these two dynamic receivers, incredible quarterback.
Yeah.
So people are like, well, is he gonna just throw the ball all over the place?
Nah.
Like, no.
Yeah.
He's a really great offensive coordinator because he looks at what he has available to him, and he designs a game plan, a system that fits the players that he has, right? And when you have, two of the 4 or 5 best college receivers in the country, then you got to utilize those guys,
100%,
right?
100%.
And so you got one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the country at the time. You got to utilize that, right? So you've got a guy now who is a special runner at quarterback. I've been watching him and paying attention to him, and you say to yourself, how is he making these plays, right? But he's a dynamic runner,
tough as nails.
And but he tricks you into thinking that he's not as fast as he is, he's not as elusive as he is, he's not as agile as he is, right? He's lumbering. You think he's lumbering, and all of a sudden, he got by. He's like, what just happened, right? And so, but he's special in that regard. And so those are things you need to capitalize, right? And then grow and build on some of the other things. And I think he's the right offensive coordinator for this university, and I think he's going to change what this offense has looked like in the past and what it's going to become. I think we're just really at the tip of how special this offense is going to be.
You had an amazing career. You know what I'm saying? We kind of went through it the entire time we've been talking, all the things you've accomplished, all the things you got to experience. And it all culminates into you being inducted into the Hall of Fame, which is everybody's dream. Everybody wants a gold jacket, but not many are deserving. What was that experience like, you know what I'm saying, getting to go into football heaven and being one of the greatest ever?
It's weird because that was football. Even football was never the goal. So for me, I didn't play football until high school. My freshman year of high school was the first time I played organized football. I didn't play Little League. I didn't do it. I played football so I can get a scholarship. That's the only reason I played football, right? So for me, it was about getting to college, right? And when I got to college, then they were like, well, man, you're pretty good at this. You need to consider going to the NFL. I'm like, NFL? So I really didn't know a lot about the NFL thing, right? So when I got to the NFL, I'm a fullback. They moved me to tailback, right? So I had never played tailback, much less my freshman year of high school, I played linebacker. My sophomore year of high school, I played tight end and nose guard. I didn't play fullback until my junior year of high school, right? So I get here, I've only played fullback 2 years. So now I'm a fullback. Well, I played here 3 years. I get to the NFL, they said, we're gonna play tailback. So now I play tailback. So I was just learning how to play fullback. So now they want me to play a different position, right? So for me, Hall of Fame was not even a thought. I didn't even know how to play the positions. So here I am learning each year how to be a better tailback because I had a fullback mentality. I'm trying to run into people, and they're like, man, you gotta get the most yards you can, right? So my mind was in a whole different place. So Hall of Fame, I'm not even thinking I know the position, right? So for me, I think my career, is just a testament that if you believe in yourself enough, hard work, all that kind of, because I didn't even play tailback.
Yeah.
First time I played tailback was, for the Rams.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden I'm in Hall of Fame as a tailback. 13,000 yards. All this. It's just like what? So for me, it's an incredible journey because it probably should have never happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's special in that regard. But that was never the goal. For me, the goal was always to win a championship. It had eluded me when I was here at Notre Dame. We were number one in the country. We lose to Stanford. It knocks us out of opportunity. My freshman year, we play Colorado. We beat Colorado. Rocket runs back a punt and score. They call it back. Mm-hmm. We lose. They win the national championship. Yeah. Right? They get a split. Colorado does a national championship. We don't. So it was like it's eluding me all through college. So then when we got to the NFL, AFC championship game, AFC championship game, AFC championship game, lost. And so it was for me, my job was become the best player I could possibly be, right? So every year, because I didn't know how to play the position initially, I was learning. That became my process every year. So every year I said, I got to be the best version of myself. I got to be a better version, right? So I had to learn something every year. So it's crazy when I tell people, I had to learn how to stiff arm, right? Because I was a fullback. I wasn't stiff arming. I was running you over. Yeah. So then I had to learn to stiff arm. Then I had to learn the spin move, right? I had to learn to make people miss. I had to learn all this stuff. So each summer I had goals, okay? This summer I'm working on this summer I'm working on third leg. So every year I was working on something different, becoming the best version of myself. And through that process, I became better, right? And I did all that to try to win a championship, right? And so my last year we won a championship and I retire and they say, you know what, your body of work is such that it is deserving of Canton, right? And the Hall of Fame. And so that was an amazing, for me, an amazing moment because it was one that probably should have never happened and was not, I never dreamed that big because I never thought I was going to even get that far. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's why it was such an amazing moment to have my career culminate in a situation where now I'm immortalized forever. Yeah,
to many, that will be the highest of highs. Like, gold jacket again, like there is nothing better than that.
That's right.
I mean, but for you, like uniquely, not many people get this experience, but now you're gonna be able to watch your son play football here, you know what I'm saying, and your daughter goes to school here. Like, what's it like kind of getting to share that experience with them and like, how proud are you, you know what I'm saying, to get to see them do what they love?
Yeah, it is beyond comprehensible to think that, in a few months' time that I'll have both of my children at the University of Notre Dame and one, have an opportunity to see my son continue his football life here at the same university where I got an opportunity to do it at. So it is, I'm over the moon because I know what this university will provide them, right? I know what the experience is. It's tough, it's challenging, the work is hard, but it is so fulfilling, right? So I know what they're going to get out on the other end, right? So that's for me is the biggest joy because I know what this university produces, right? Yeah. And I know if you stick with it and if you commit yourself, what the final product looks like, right? Whether he plays on Sundays or not, I know the opportunity to come here is one that he's going to appreciate long after his football career is over. And I think that's the most important part. And I try to tell him, when he was considering all these different schools, I said, listen, let's say you have a great career. You played 10 years in the NFL. You're only gonna be 33 years old.
So much life left.
Now what?
Yeah.
Now what? You will have to put that degree to the test, right? You're gonna. There will be opportunities to use that. So don't think that it's about, hey, I don't have a plan B. Well, yeah, you don't have a plan B, but you need one because your career is going to end, right? Football is not one you can't play to 60.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to end. Even if you have a Hall of Fame career.
Still gonna end.
You're gonna be 33 years old, 34 years old.
Yeah.
You still gonna have a lot of left. So you know, to have the ability to watch him and his development, I am beyond excited.
Agree.
Yeah.
We'll do a quick segment. It's called the lightning round.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions.
Okay.
And you answer them as fast as you can. You ready?
How can I do that with ice cream in my mouth? I can't do that.
Take a break.
I don't know about that. Okay.
Ready?
I'm just joking.
All right. Who's Notre Dame's biggest rival?
USC.
What's one meal you cook well?
Grilled cheese.
Most famous person in your contact list?
Oh, gosh. Jay-Z.
That's insane. You're pretty big time. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry, I froze up. That was really cool. Your favorite O lineman to run behind?
Damani Dawson.
Okay. Your funniest teammate of all time?
Joey Porter.
An unsung player from your time we should know more about?
I lightning round, but I can't. I got a ton of guys that's just kind of going through my head.
We can take some time on this one.
I had a fullback, Tim Lester.
Okay.
He was tough as nails.
Okay. Favorite place on campus?
Alumni Hall.
When's the last time you rode a bus?
Oh, shit. To the Super Bowl.
Okay. One defender whose hits you remember?
Sam Adams.
Sam Adams?
He blocked out the sun. He was that big.
And what teammate that you've ever had are you least likely to lend your car to?
Joey Porter.
I've heard hilarious stories about PZ. Insane stories about PZ.
I'm not letting it in my car.
Yeah.
No way.
No way.
It's coming back beat up.
Beat up.
Sure. For sure.
Well, I appreciate your time so much.
Thank you, man.
This is the Irish Scoop, joined today by a man who needed no introduction, which is why we didn't give him one. So thankful for all the gems you dropped. So thankful for your time.
You.
I really appreciate you. If you like what you saw, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.